I ruined my stepson's wedding just because I laughed.
Poor people should never laugh.
Throwaway, shortened for character count. For context, I have been married to my husband for just over 20 years. We started dating when my stepkids were 5 and 3. Our kids are Adam, 28, stepkid number 1, Ben, 26, stepkid number 2, Charles, 20, David, 17, and Ellie, 13. Y'all got a whole freaking full house, man.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, this comes from Afraid Mammoth 5574, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, Adam is getting married at the end of summer to his fiancée, Alice, 27. We have all been very excited for them. All of the kids have roles for the wedding. Charles is the best man, the other 2 boys are groomsmen, and Ellie is a junior bridesmaid. Last weekend, we had a dinner for my husband's birthday. All of the kids attended along with Alice. The topic of the wedding came up again, and this is where it started to go downhill. Ellie brought up that she was so excited to go dress shopping and that we planned to go to a bigger city in a few weeks to get her a dress and me a stepmom of the groom dress. At that, Alice looked at Adam sideways and responded that we only needed to worry about one dress, Ellie's. Ellie kind of laughed and said, "What are you expecting Mom to wear, a suit?" Alice responded with, "OP's not going. You know we are keeping our guest list very limited to only family and a few close friends."
Wild.
What? Adam and Alice have been to our house numerous times for holidays, dinners, just to say hi since they've been engaged. This has never been brought up. That's insane. Pretty quickly, things escalated. The Cliff Notes version is that Charles asked them to clarify if they were choosing to uninvite me now or if I was never invited. Alice confirmed the latter. Why? Adam says it's because I'm not his mom. Charles, David, and Ellie argued with Adam and Alice that none of them were going to go if I wasn't invited. That it was cruel to leave me out, given I've been his parent for a majority of his life and loved him like my own. My husband and I admittedly sat there for a minute just effing shocked. Adam finally turned to my husband and said, "Well?" My husband told him he wouldn't be going either. Adam then turned to me and asked if I was really going to let everyone ruin his wedding on my behalf. Opie's just sitting there like, I didn't tell anyone to do anything. You just didn't invite me and then everyone said they don't want to come. That's not my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's where I might be the a-hole. I just laughed. I don't know what came over me, but the entire thing was just so ridiculous that laughing was the only thing I could get out. I told my husband I'd be waiting in the car and left and then promptly bawled my eyes out. That's so upsetting. You should never kind of force the parent title on a stepkid or, a child that,
Sure.
It should always be up to their comfortability. But to have thought that you were a parent figure for literally like freaking over 20 years, like 23 years you thought, I see myself as a parent to this child sees it that way too, and then to find out in this moment, no.
Yeah, that really threw me off because at first he said that OP wasn't invited. I was like, wait a second, are they just friends or something? Because if you're just inviting like close friends and family, this is family.
This is your father's wife.
Yeah.
And a person who has been effectively your parent for 23 years.
Yeah, like what?
And this is how you're treating them? Anyways, Charles, David, and Ellie are not talking to Adam. Adam called my husband yesterday to try and smooth things over. He was still adamant that I'm not invited, and it's their wedding. He also requested I apologize for laughing at him. My husband told him, tough crap. It's their wedding and they can invite whoever they want, but they can't control who will actually go. He said they owe me an apology and that Adam should be ashamed of himself. I'm getting texts now asking what the F I did and why I'm being a step monster and ruining the wedding. Am I the a-hole? So clearly not.
You literally didn't do anything.
You did nothing. They were attacking you and said, are you going to ruin our wedding?
Yeah.
When everyone else was defending you and you went,
yeah.
Okay, and then left.
Yeah.
And cried.
Yeah, laughing at that is like a completely valid response.
Yeah, like it's like people forget like laughter is also just like kind of a shock response. Some of OP's comments. Commenter says, I feel like there's a lot missing here. You've been married to his dad since he was 8. That was years of elementary, middle, high school, college, 20 years. Is his mother living? Did his fiance influence him? Just seems odd to not invite his dad's wife of 20 years and call her not family. I don't think you're the a-hole, but I just want to know more about the past 20 years. OP says, I'm sorry, I had to cut a lot out for character count to post. When Adam called, my husband did ask him if I had done anything, if it was related to Biomom. She has never gotten along with us. if I had overstepped in any way. Adam says no, it's just they want family only. Stepdad is invited as far as we know. I was a stay-at-home mom for my stepkid's childhood, and we had 50-50. My husband has always worked a lot, but has been as involved as possible. The house and child rearing mostly fell to me, though. I love our kids to pieces. I thought we had made it clear from the beginning that I am/was another parent that loves them, not a replacement mom. We've never had any issues, and I thought up until now that we were particularly close. Our communication has slowed since he met Alice, but he was calling me about once or twice a week prior to this. I feel like Alice must have influenced in some way. She must have said, oh, well, like, that's not your real mom.
Yeah,
maybe. And he's like, oh, maybe it's not my real mom.
Yeah, maybe like she's got a bad relationship with a stepmom or something, and she's projecting or there's so many ways this could go. It's so vague.
I mean, like a lot of people have that weird idea that if it's not blood related, then it's not real family, and maybe she's got like that kind of messed up thinking.
Yeah, and maybe they're just trying to like budget and using that as an excuse or something like that.
Yeah. Weird. Alice and I have gone shopping on occasion, gotten lunch. I even went with her to the florist for the wedding because her mom wasn't available and Adam got called into work. There has to be something/someone causing an issue, and my husband and I are baffled. Commenter asks, is his mom invited? Opie says yes. Yes, as far as we've heard. Stepdad is also invited. What? We, my husband and I, have never gotten along with mom, but still play nice as we still have 50-50 of younger stepson, Ben. Adam and his mom had a falling out a few years ago as she was starting to treat him the way she's always treated husband and I, that is, poorly. I don't know how to nicely explain other than she's a self-absorbed person. Adam hasn't wanted to talk about it much, and we won't push it. I know they talk and visit still, but how close they are, I have no idea. And custody of Ben at 26. Yes, he's disabled. He can choose where he's staying as he likes, but mostly sticks to a 50-50 schedule still unless there is a family event or vacation. He is pretty independent, but not able to live on his own. Guardianship is probably a better word for what we have now instead of custody. Commenter says, absolutely not the a-hole. Assuming you and Adam have gotten along fine until now, it's absolutely wild that they wouldn't invite you. Only family and a few close friends when a step-parent literally counts as family, and the nerve to accuse you of ruining his wedding. I don't blame you for laughing. Opie responds, it's probably also relevant, but my husband's parents are long since deceased. My parents, dad, stepmom, and mom, have been very involved with all the kids since they were little. They are also not going since if I'm not family, they aren't either. Were your parents invited and you weren't?
This makes absolutely no sense.
Whoa. I have no idea. Like, there must have been some sort of perceived slight that they think you've done towards them.
The only thing I can think of is like maybe the bio mom is paying for the wedding, and because she doesn't really get along with OP, she's like, no, you shouldn't invite her. You know what I mean? Maybe, but still, it doesn't really like make that much sense. It doesn't seem like that's really it. I don't know.
My brother and sister-in-law, their daughter, my cousin, they call him uncle, and several of my other family members that have been around since stepkids were little have also dropped. They are up to like 20 people. They have rescinded their RSVP for a wedding of maybe 60 people. Yeah, you really wanted to keep the budget low, so you will. Good job.
Good job.
Commenter says, wait, hold up. Your family was invited, but not you? Then what the heck did Adam expect when it came out you're not invited? OP says, that's my family's take. Why are they invited, but I'm not? They aren't related to my stepkids by blood either, but are apparently family? To be fair, my family is larger than my husband's, stepdads, and biomoms. My stepkids were the first grandkids on my side. They were not with biomom and dad's family, and were absolutely spoiled rotten growing up. Charles is now supposed to meet Adam for coffee over the weekend. I warned him that truly I don't think it's coming from Adam and to try to calm about it. Commenter says, what is the nature of relationship with Adam? Is his mother in the picture? Could his fiance be in his ear? OP says, I thought we were close. Besides the normal teenager, I don't have to listen to you BS phase. We have never fought. We've always had him and Ben 50-50. As a teen and on, he's butted heads with his mother. There have been times over the years where Adam has come to my husband and I and asked questions from things his mother has said, but we've always been forthcoming with info. Example of that is that his mom called me a homewrecker. This upset Adam. Adam came pissed at us, explained that no, bio mom and dad were long since broken up, and mom even had a fiance who was not current stepdad when I met dad. Pulled receipts. Adam, upset with mom, blew over and on to the next thing. We still deal with bio mom though, and I do have a hard time believing she'd pull something at this point. Alice and I aren't super close, but I thought that we had a good relationship. I have always tried to include her. Sometimes she takes up my offer and sometimes she doesn't. I know she sees Biomom quite a bit and that side of Adam's family too. She was raised by her grandparents and does not talk about bio parents often. Commenter says, how did Ben react to this? At this point, I probably would not go to the wedding and would block him and his future wife. They would have to grovel in order to go. They made it clear they don't see you as family, so you don't need to do anything for them going forward. OP responds, Ben was very upset and confused. He is autistic, so what exactly the argument was about doesn't quite click. But he's mostly upset Adam says I'm not their parent and his siblings are all fighting. We've sat him down since and explained that I love him dearly and will never go anywhere. All of us love Adam and are just hurt, and that he himself can choose to go to the wedding or not. He doesn't have to choose sides, and we will still love him if he goes. Honestly, he probably will. He loves cake and dancing. LOL. He seems to be doing just fine since. He hasn't asked about Adam, but will go to see his moms tomorrow and probably see him there. More info on everyone's relationship. It was hard to include every bit of context in the post because of the character limit, but I quit my job when Charles was 6 months old. Adam would have been 8, almost 9, no affair. I met my husband when he'd been divorced for over a year. Biomom was engaged to someone else. If you ask their biomom, she'll say, I always overstepped. If you ask her how, she'll give examples like I went to school events. So did stepdad. I helped with homework. I spent too much time with them. She would thank me for loving her kids so much, and then turn around and berate my husband for me loving kids that aren't hers too much. Another example is that in the beginning, she wanted to communicate with me directly more. Said she loved the communication and that I was easier to deal with than my husband. Next argument with my husband, she brought up that I was weird and too involved and she shouldn't have to talk to me whatsoever. I haven't talked to her since. Periodically, she has brought up that I was easier to talk to and she doesn't understand why communication just had to go through my husband. After several years of trying to appease her, we quit to just focus on keeping our family happy and supported. It's been 23 years now of dealing with her. I've been to therapy multiple times to resolve whatever issues she says I have. It did help with strategies to deal with her. Truly, it's just that she has mental issues. Their dad did work a lot. He has always been on nights. It's changed slightly over the years, but we have stepkids Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every other Monday. His days off have always fallen on those days, so he can spend the max amount of time with them, but usually he worked 1 to 2 of those nights. Very rarely would he work on days we had my stepkids, usually on days we didn't. We still currently try to do dates on days when Ben is not with us. I hope that makes sense and clears up some questions for you. There are so many comments.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. Commenter says, are Alice's parents still together? As she assumed you're some kind of evil stepmother. Does she have a bad relationship with her stepmom and doesn't want to invite her? Opie says, her mom and dad are her grandparents. She hasn't talked about it much with me specifically, but her bio mom is deceased, substances, and her bio father's in prison. She talked about it some with my husband, who was adopted by his aunt and uncle. Father not in the picture, and mother passed away from when he was 4. Oof. My stepmom has also talked with her at one point because she too was adopted by her grandparents for similar reasons. It just adds to our confusion. We have such a mix of types of family regardless of blood that my mother-in-law has been laying it on thick that I need to smooth things over because family is family and I'm the parent, so it's my responsibility to fix it. But I'm not ready to talk to Adam. And we're going to pause there because that was a big old info dump.
A lot of information.
Any thoughts?
Just like processing all of that.
Yeah.
Like that kind of is feeding into my theory of it being like the bio mom kind of convincing Adam in a way. You know, I still don't know if I have enough evidence for that to be true, but if the bio mom clearly doesn't like OP even more than I thought before, then I would not be surprised if she was
saying all this stuff to at least maybe Alice.
Yeah.
But no, it really doesn't make sense why, because before we said, oh, maybe, you know, she's got that type of idea that like, oh, it's only blood related, but clearly they're inviting everyone else who is not blood related, has a close relationship with OP's like parents, sees them as grandparents. Alice comes from like a non-traditional family background herself. Yeah. So, you know, it really doesn't make sense. To me, the only thing that does make sense is your idea of the bio mom being somehow
right? Like
weaseling her way in.
Yeah.
Edit. Sorry, my mother, LOL. My mother-in-law is deceased. And one more thought. Adam will always be my first son, whether he thinks of me as his mom or not. I thought we had been pretty clear throughout the years that I love him, regardless of what he thinks of me. and that my involvement extends to whatever he wants of me and some fair non-negotiables, mostly safety things, chores his dad agreed on when I asked, that kind of thing. I couldn't get in with my therapist this week, but I do have an appointment next week, and we will try to formulate a well-thought-out response back. I am certainly not a perfect person or parent, but I won't intentionally sabotage him further. I do love a good revenge story, but that's not it when it comes to my kids. I've talked to the youngest 3, and they have reassured me that it's their choice whether or not they go, and I won't push them on it. I have been reminding them that he is still their brother, and it doesn't sound like him, mostly for Charles. He is very outspoken and protective. Charles is supposed to meet with him this weekend, and I'm hoping we get some clearer answers from that. And there is an update 5 days later.
Okay.
Any final thoughts before we jump into it?
I'm just ready to roll right in.
I just need to know why.
And we need solutions.
We have so much information.
For real.
Except for why Adam and Alice did this.
I feel like they're just dangling it in front of us.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why would they do it? Who's to say?
I do. Pull the freaking Scooby-Doo mask off already.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Update. The short is, if you guessed it was related to BioMom, you were correct.
Woohoo!
You nailed that.
You
nailed that, Angie.
We
you nailed
did
that.
it.
Woo! I didn't want this to be the case. Adam rescheduled with Charles for Monday, citing Easter weekend. Fair enough. He also texted my husband to let him know that him and Alice would be doing Easter with her parents. We expected that. At some point on Sunday, Ellie texted Alice. I'm not sure what exactly was said, but it prompted Alice to spill everything that was going on with her parents. I have met them a few times, but they live a few hours away. They encouraged her and Adam to reach out to us to clear everything up. Monday, we dropped Ben off to BioMom's. He stayed an extra night for Easter fun. A few hours later, she began to blow up my husband's phone as Ben mentioned the fight. My husband answered one call in which she was screaming and promptly hung up. He texted her that the siblings argued, everything's fine, and that if Ben has any further questions, we will talk about it when he's back with us. For some of the things she texted, we knew she was the root of all this.
There we go.
Monday, Adam also met up with Charles, and he did come clean. Charles texted us to see if it was okay if they came over after, and we said yes. I'm not gonna lie, Adam looked a mess. He immediately began crying and apologizing. The short and sweet of it is that he's been trying to mend bridges with BioMom. Their wedding isn't 60 people, it's blown up to about double that, and they've been struggling to figure out how to pay for it. At one of their visits, Alice let slip, and BioMom jumped to help pay for things. Yeah, and then that goes into, now I have control over your wedding, and you have to choose the people that I want there.
See, we've read too many of these stories. We know.
Just know. It slowly snowballed from there, from small requests to big requests. I'm not sure what the final nail in the coffin was, but it ended with BioMom requesting I not be there. Adam said it was easier to hurt me than risk World War III with his mom. By the way, it would be World War III if you don't listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search OK Storytime.
Or else we declare war.
We declare war on you. Any final thoughts before we finish this story off, now that we finally have the truth?
I freaking told you
so. You freaking told us.
I told you so.
You called it so accurately.
Yeah, there's just so many stories again with like the parents or whoever paying for it now has like, it's usually control over the guest list that is most common.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm glad that things are now coming to, we're getting a solution.
Yeah, coming to light.
Yeah, Adam knows. Adam feels bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Adam. It's not you. You're good. I forgive you. I do. OP.
I personally forgive you. I don't know about Adam. I mean, I don't know about OP.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely something that you can come back from with
sure.
Adam. Like, you just have to have a conversation. And then hopefully maybe everyone will come back to his wedding.
Absolutely.
But let's see what Adam does. Alice's parents were less than pleased to find out how they've been with the wedding and budget, and even less so at BioMom's antics. They're trying to figure out how to start covering the payments BioMom has made. We've decided to help some with this. Adam also asked if we could meet again in a few days with Alice, and we've said yes. There is still a lot of ground to cover for this to be close to mended. I am still hurt, but mostly I'm angry on behalf of my oldest son. And that is the end of that story.
Wow.
Good ending. It's not over yet, but we're on the way to figuring it all out.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love a story with a solution at the end.
Me too.
Nice.
But that is the end of that story.
My sister's boyfriend makes the family uncomfortable, but she sees nothing wrong.
Well, get her out of there.
Trigger warning, this does talk about emotionally relationships, so if that's going to affect you in a negative way, please just scooch on to the next video. Okay, so let me start off by saying my older sister has never been very mature, but she's always been fun to be around, even if she hasn't been the best role model. By the way, this comes from a suitcase under each eye, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So last February, she seemed to be really changing for the better. She started working out, seeing a therapist, broke up with her harmful boyfriend, and was all around starting to take better care of herself. We were thrilled. She and I have never been very close because we're polar opposites when it comes to personality. I'm outgoing and outspoken, and she's painfully shy and insecure. But we finally began forming an adult relationship, and I was so happy to have the kind of older sister that I could look up to. 2 months later, she meets this guy, Jerry, and things go downhill fast.
Ruh-roh.
She starts pulling away from the family, claiming that she's a black sheep and we don't understand her like he does. She starts picking fights over the tiniest things, stops working out, stops seeing her therapist, and stops putting any effort into anything but him.
Super concerning.
One of the things that really set this all into motion, I think, was that my mom had booked a beach house vacation for everyone and asked for just family. My sister threw a huge fit, screaming and crying, asking why our older sister's husband of 7 years was allowed to go, but not her new boyfriend. My parents tried to be as understanding as possible and handled it as best they could, but I think she got it into her head that they left him out on purpose. Keep in mind, my younger sister and I also had boyfriends who weren't allowed to come. Also, my parents had paid for the house and her plane ticket because she had told them that she couldn't afford to come otherwise. In the past year, things have gotten only worse. There have been a couple of instances I'd like to highlight specifically. First time we met him, we all went out for a trip to the lake. I tried paddleboarding for the first time, but ended up falling and injuring my hand. I started crying and he asked to see it. I showed him my hand, which was already swelling and bleeding, which he took into his and proceeded to smack it pretty forcefully.
That's not medically advised.
No.
He's like, here, I'll fix it. Bam!
Then he and my sister started cackling while I began to sob and my dad took me to the ER. He did not apologize even after finding out it had been severely sprained.
He's a monster.
When my mom and little sister stayed with him overnight, he walked into the guest room without knocking while my mom was changing and wearing just a bra and underwear. She was startled and asked him to leave, but he said that it wasn't a big deal because she was basically in a bathing suit. He then hugged her and left the room.
I'm sorry, if that ever happened to, like, I'm trying to think, like, if this is my dad or, like, this happened to my mom.
Yeah.
My dad freaking throwing hands.
Absolutely.
Like, no. No.
My God.
That is incredibly inappropriate.
Dude, I'm shocked. Oh. While my sister, 20, went to stay with them, she witnessed him yelling inappropriate things at women jogging while they were driving to a restaurant. And when they returned to my older sister's apartment, Jerry tried to bully my younger sister into smoking devil's lettuce with him. When my pregnant older sister met them at a Christmas party, he stood over her and wouldn't move until she got up to give him a hug. At the same party, he drank 6 to 8 in about 2 hours and then decided that he needed to leave to drive back home.
That's why I'm calling the police. Hello, police.
Mm-hmm.
Got a drunk driver on the road.
Oh my gosh. He was adamant that only he could drive them home, even with my mom and uncle encouraging my sister to drive instead. My dad wasn't there at the time. He met my best friend of 20 years for 30 minutes and then proceeded to speculate that he was on substances and a junkie because he went to the bathroom twice between us going to lunch and leaving the restaurant. When my sister had her baby, he refused to sit to hold the child, insisting that he was fine and accusing us of thinking that he was too not to drop him. I went to visit my sister, and before I left, he insisted on hugging me. I tried to be friendly and went in for a hug. He then proceeded to squeeze and shake me. I told him over and over that he was making me uncomfortable, but he wouldn't put me down. He took a long, nosy whiff of my hair before I finally shoved myself away from him, and he started laughing at my obvious discomfort. I'm so disgusted. Oh my gosh. I looked to my sister for support, and instead she told me that his hobby was to go up to strangers and sniff their hair and then challenge them if they acted uncomfortable.
You're a freak. And also just totally bypassing people's boundaries. No, It's harassment.
Absolutely.
Full on harassment.
Absolutely. People who like enjoy making other people uncomfortable,
Just the worst
you
people.
have to stay away from them because
Worst people.
it's not funny.
No.
It's just so creepy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, really, really not okay. And unfortunately, some part of improving this situation is you standing up for yourself and saying, don't touch me. Get off me. Do not be afraid to say, do not touch me.
Yeah. He got into a huge row with my aunt about vaccines and how bad they are and unnecessary.
Wow, shocking. That's what he believes.
My sister just sat there and twiddled her thumbs. Keep in mind, my dad used to make vaccines. Oh, wow. When my sister came to us the one time this year, he called her in a panic about how his brother was passed away from a construction accident. And it turned into his brother's friend who had passed away. And his brother was going to lose his leg. Then it was his brother's legs that were just broken. Then it was his brother was totally fine and was being discharged from the hospital. This all occurred in the span of 24 hours that she was with us. There is so much more, but I could go on forever, and I don't really think that it's necessary. He lies about everything and then changes his stories. Then when he's caught, he gets insanely defensive. My sister refuses to talk about it, even when we've tried to approach her about these issues calmly and rationally. She instead sees the fault in us, claiming that we're elitist and trying to take her away from her one true love. She has made it clear in the past month that if we do not accept him, we do not accept her, and that she is willing to cut all contact with us to preserve her relationship with him. At this point, I have lost all respect for my sister. She's always been immature, but in the past year, she has turned into a manipulative bully. My parents have tried talking to her. They exchanged emails because she refuses to talk on the phone, but she won't hear a single negative word about him. She keeps attacking my parents like it's their fault. She refuses to respond to their emails now, but continues to send hurtful, malicious emails to them. Is there any way to save this relationship without completely ostracizing her? And there is an update, but what do we think?
I don't even know. I mean, at that point, you've talked about it. I think it's just telling her, hey, like, we love and support you.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, prioritizing your safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do before she has to make that final step herself.
Yeah.
So, like, don't put yourself at risk in the process.
Yeah, because I don't really think this is necessarily her being immature. I think it's very common for in situations like this, for like if she's, attacking the family or like insulting these people or whatever, and, any little thing that they do is an insult to her and her boyfriend. It's very common for that to be the boyfriend like talking that into her.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then,
I mean, he's probably saying all of the things that she's saying to them.
Absolutely. If he's saying these things, then it's probably like, oh, if you don't defend me, then you're just as bad or something like that. So she is probably just trying to do whatever she can to like appease the boyfriend because she's in this manipulative relationship. But we do have an update. So thanks to everyone who responded to the original post. Your advice was appreciated, and I really did try to follow it. Well, I wish I could say that my sister has come around and everything is better, but in fact, everything is much, much worse. Since my last post 2 months ago, my sister has moved and won't tell us where, is refusing to talk to my parents, specifically my mom. And when we as sisters meet up to hang out, she does a complete 180 whenever any of this trouble with Jerry is brought up. My younger sisters and I have decided to cut contact with her because her behavior and anger directed towards our parents is unacceptable. It's also come out recently that she has said some pretty hurtful things about all of us, including that my older sister and her husband are only married because of their son, and that she thinks that it would have been better if my parents had stopped having kids after her so that they could have paid for her college and all of her needs. I don't really understand how you can wish people in your family had never been born. I would maybe understand if she was joking or said it once out of anger, but she's said it multiple times and seemed serious every time. My oldest sister, 31 female, is keeping in contact with her now. We think that she's the only one allowed to see my sister because Jerry thinks that my older sister likes him. My oldest sister and her husband can't stand Jerry, but want to act as the bridge in case my sister ever comes to her senses. I don't know how much of my sister's behavior is influenced by Jerry, or if this is just her deciding to be cruel, but these past couple of months have been really hard. My parents tried to keep everything civil, but my sister seems to have this anger in her. She's taken to Facebook, pretty juvenile, I know, with declarations of being happy for the first time in her life and verbally attacking family and friends who post anything that doesn't agree with her opinions wholeheartedly. She's really isolating herself from my family and all but 2 of her friends. They approve of Jerry, so they're welcome in her life. Anyway, my mom is done with her behavior. My sister took a trip to Iceland, and when my mom asked her how it was, my sister went off about how she's still upset that the family hates Jerry and that she doesn't want to associate with us if we can't accept everything about him. She wouldn't even listen when my mom asked her to explain his behavior. She was completely irrational and said some terrible things to intentionally hurt my mom's feelings. I think my dad is still hoping that she'll come to her senses. He gets really defensive when any of us bring her up. He's always felt a special attachment to my sister because they're the only lefties in the family, and my sister has tried so hard to be like him. I understand that, but I think that he's hoping for a day that will never come. Personally, I think my sister is comfortable in harmful relationships. She's always been a very manipulative person, and she's always wanted to be the black sheep of the family. Now, with Jerry, she has more of an excuse than ever. I think she's too arrogant of a person to even realize how wrong she is about Jerry. By the way, you will never be wrong about finding full episodes with more stories just like this one on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast app. Just search OK Storytime. Do it. Do it. Oh, man, there's still a little bit more in the story, but holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, sad. Very sad.
Very sad. Very sad.
It's good that your older sister is still like keeping contact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of a big sacrifice on her end.
Yeah, that's but that's good though, because maybe eventually either she'll realize that she needs to get out of the relationship, or he will get tired of her or something like that and then leave, and then she'll have someone to fall back on. But there is a little bit more to the story.
Let's finish her off.
If it seems like I have a lot of animosity towards my sister, it's because she has been intentionally cruel to my family and our family friends these past couple of months. She said a lot of hurtful things to the people who have been so good to her, including to a friend who is dealing with and doesn't have time for her crap. And I think even if we are able to forgive her, we aren't going to forget. Meanwhile, Jerry hasn't tried to contact us and help clear up any misunderstanding. I'm sure he's just enjoying watching my sister implode. And that is the end of that story.